The Australian Ghost Whisperer with Caterina and James Jennings. Caterina and I thought that it might be time to do a 2025 predictions episode. So, Caterina, you told me that you've been getting a few downloads about things that are coming up this year. So let's dive into it. What are some of the things that you've foreseen taking place in 2025?
What I've been receiving as far as like downloads and messages is that this is a huge year of great change. And by change, it means that these changes are going to take place from within. And the changes that take place from within are for our own self-development and self-healing. I'm stepping into a more heightened state of awareness, because as we become more evolved and more aware of reality that surrounds us and our ability to be able to heal and change events, then we're able to manifest and project this into the world. It's a year of great awakening also, in the sense that for a long time, as we know, many people have been able to kind of just turn away and say, no, I'm not interested. I don't want to know. They've got their head in the sand. They're not interested. Even these people are going to have to come out of that state. The energies that are coming in, there's very high frequency energy. There's solar flares coming in that are creating the awakening of even the DNA within us that's been dormant for so long. So as everything begins to awaken and we become more in sync with the higher frequencies that are coming in, we're going to just see things from a much heightened state of awareness, rather than seeing everything just the way, that kind of narrow-minded vision that a lot of people have. It's going to force them to look at things, and there's going to be many catastrophes and events that are going to happen. And I'm not saying this to scare people, but it's almost happening to push us to come together, to be a stronger force, to become more of a loving human family, connected with each other and looking for new ways and new solutions in which we can exist, but also no longer exploiting this world. And this is why we're getting all of these flashes of the solar flares and high frequency energies, and they're not constant, but they are there at different times to help us to wake up out of this state of that we've been very dormant about. Most of us have just worried about going to work, coming home, this, that. We've all been in our own little bubbles. It's pushing us to come together, to unify, to grow, to find solutions, and to really help progress into a much more enlightened humanity. So it is time of very great change. And I feel that it's also time that the more you resist and pull back from it, the more difficult you'll be, pushed harder and harder to go, no, we have to step out of that safe zone and move into going, okay, I'm willing to look at this. Maybe I don't believe in it. Maybe I don't quite understand it, but I'm willing to go into this and look at it with an open heart and an open mind, and where we can all help each other and share these ideas or share the downloads, the guidance that's coming through.
Okay. I'm interested by the word talking about us being dormant and also enlightenment, because look, I sometimes get messages. I know you get messages quite regularly. I get them in a much rarer capacity, but one that I got last year, and it was just came out of the blue, was that what we call junk DNA, the dormant DNA in our bodies.
Correct.
When that is activated, we will achieve something called Christ consciousness, which I guess is another way of saying enlightenment or becoming enlightened. It wasn't explained to me how that dormant DNA becomes activated, but it was a very clear message that it's not quote unquote junk DNA, it's just dormant DNA that once activated leads to Christ consciousness, aka enlightenment. So
Correct.
is that sort of in line with what you've
Yes.
been feeling?
Yes. And the solar flares that are coming in, because there's such high frequency and we absorb that light, it starts to awaken the dormant DNA, but also our dormant minds.
Mm-hmm.
Because our minds, we've just been in this cycle, yeah? The
Mm.
same thing over and over again, go to work, come home, just doing the same thing over and over. Our minds have also become dormant. So it's the awakening of a heightened state of consciousness and being able to really align your consciousness with God consciousness in order to be able to receive guidance, receive the healing, really being able to connect with our creator, know that we have the spark of divinity and creation within us. And how can we recreate this world to become a better place, to
Mm.
become a healthier space, to become a world where love reigns rather than the hatred and anger and warring, that we connect more to each other, that we show compassion to each other, to nature, to the animals, to all human and non-human life that share this world with us, that we come and to be here together in harmony.
Mm. Mm. And it sounds like, from what you're saying, that there will be, I guess you could say, some chaos and some catastrophic events that occur, which is what actually starts pushing us together and unifying as a race, as humanity. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. Because unfortunately, until these types of events happen, we tend to just move through each day and not worry about anything because we're not threatened. But unfortunately, we've sort of fallen a little bit too far down that now we need these events. We need the shake up to go, oh shit, what's going on? Like I need to. What's really going on? What's happening to our world? Is it really, are we going to lose our world? Are we really going to run out of food? Are we over polluting the water to an extent where we won't be able to drink it anymore? The
Mm.
ocean is becoming more and more acidic. So I'm not saying that all of these events are going to occur in this year, but this is the process that begins this year, and that's why we will see these changes. And as we move through them with an open heart, knowing that this needs to happen
Yeah.
so that we avoid falling into a space where we completely run out of food and resources here in this world, where we can no longer maintain any kind of existence here.
Yeah. Yeah. Were there other messages and downloads that you got, or is that basically the gist of where you see things pointing this coming year?
Yeah, we're moving towards becoming a much more enlightened human species,
Hmm.
and we are going to be able to activate many of our gifts as this happens. So the psychic gifts are greater, our intuition, our abilities to heal, our abilities to manifest. But more so, all of this happens as we become more, we go from our heads and come into our hearts. And we work through things by deciding from our hearts. What would love choose? What would our hearts choose, rather than what's my head saying I need to do? Moving out of fear into more of a connected, higher consciousness human family.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Something that I've seen on the cards, I'll be interested to hear your opinion on this as well, is that, kind of switching lanes a little bit here, UFOs that have now been rebranded as UAPs, which stands for unidentified anomalous phenomena. It's a bit more of a mouthful for someone like me. So UAPs are becoming something that it seems to be are more acknowledged in the public sphere. I'm starting to get sense that we're at some kind of tipping point where there's going to be a much wider acknowledgement and awareness of these things. I know, they've been kind of like taboo over the years. Anyone who talks about them or says they're real are kind of branded as a nut job. But I think it's kind of unavoidable to not deal with the fact that there are other intelligences out there besides ourselves, and they're slowly starting to reveal themselves to humanity. And I can definitely see that happening much more in 2025. I think there's going to be people who've buried their head in the sands, I think are suddenly going to have to pull them out and face up to the fact that this is actually happening. What do you feel about that, Kat? Does that line up with what you see happening?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We need to realize that we are not the only species that exists within this universe and the multiverse, that there are other species, other life forms. And I feel that they've been waiting a long time to contact us. But we being this fearful, rebellious race of humans that we are, we probably would have started, throwing, letting off bombs and God knows, shooting at them and all this. And I think that's why they've had to do it slowly. But I feel that their intention is good. I feel that they are coming to perhaps, they're not going to obviously do the work for us, but perhaps nudge us. And I feel that it's something that we need to aspire to, because many of these high ETs races, they really live on from that frequency. They exist on the frequency of pure love. Everything runs in harmony and from a space of love, and their methods of existing are so very different to ours. Like, they look at us as being this destructive race of children, out of control children. So I feel that they're kind of going, oh my God, we need to help them all, maybe by meeting the ET families, that we can learn from them.
Mm, mm. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because even when, I mean, even when you look at our show, and we've talked about lots of different things, we've talked about obviously spirits and demons, and, we're talking about UAPs now. We've probably talked about Bigfoot in the past. Now, what I find interesting about how humans understand things is we do like to put things in boxes and dismiss them. And, we like to think that things that seem fantastical or a bit out of the ordinary just straight up don't exist. But I think that what people are probably going to have to start understanding is all these things that we talk about, they are just all expressions of consciousness. And consciousness comes in many, many, many different forms, both in physical and non-physical. That's really all it is. We're talking about one thing: consciousness, physical and non-physical consciousness. And we are not particularly open to the vastness of it. But my gut feeling is we are going to know about it very, very soon on a much grander scale. Does that track with your insights,
Oh,
Kat?
absolutely. Yeah. Many people will make contact. There will be many, many, many people that will begin to make contact with our ET families. And I feel that they're going to help share some of their ways of, you know, their ways of existing, and maybe I hope that they can teach us to become a more loving race as they are, because they live in from a space of love and harmony and peace, and they don't trash their worlds the way we do.
Mm,
Um, they live in harmony with nature, with everything around them, because they realize that everything we're one. We're one with nature. We're one with each other. We're one with the animals, the ocean. We're one with the water. We're one with everything that exists here in our world. And this is the greatest thing that we need to learn,
yes.
because when we've learnt that and we can apply that, then this world really does become, the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
because it's a little bit like the Garden of Hell at the moment. And that's what I've been, and it is. And especially when the ETs kind of look at us, it's like I said that we look like, sometimes I hate to say, but even a little bit like savages the way we run around. And
Yes.
I remember like one day an ET said to me, you know, it's funny how they watch the way we eat. We don't stop to with any gratitude. We're hungry, we just shove food down, we're running around in between, work, or we're just shoving food as we're running down the street. We don't stop to give
Mm,
gratitude for our meals, or families just sit in front of TVs or computers or whatever, or and they're just eating, shoving food down their throat. And it's like, that's so true. We do it without even realizing. We don't stop and say, well, I am grateful to Mother Earth for this beautiful food and that this is nourishing my body, that we're just eating because we're just so hungry, and we're hungry because we are trying to satisfy all these emotions and fears that are going on. We're trying to suppress and shove them down further, and it's not
mm,
real hunger. We're not eating from true hunger. We're eating from just trying to feel better, trying to fill the void that's within us, that
yes.
we have not healed enough. And so that was one thing that they pointed out to me, and I'm like, oh my God. And since then I've tried to be more mindful
Mm,
of when I do sit to have a meal, that I give thanks so that I'm grateful for it. I mean, got to be honest, I don't always remember, but it's true. And sometimes, yeah, we just, these are the simple things we've forgotten, that we
mm.
just expect that we can go to the store, buy what we want, cook it, eat it, it's done.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, and practicing gratitude can be very transformative. Again, I'm not always great at it, but and again, it's you get caught up in the routine of your life, work, make money, got to do the laundry, got to cook dinner, jobs to do, got to do the shopping, and suddenly your brain is just on a completely different track, and you're functioning like a robot, right?
Mm.
But when you are able to step out of that and give gratitude, it really reframes the way that you experience life. Because it is, I mean, it's all a bit of a miracle, I mean, even looking out the window now, it's like, I can see, the water and the trees, and it's nature is miraculous. It is just stunning, and even having simple gratitude for nature, I think, is something that puts us
Mm.
back more into our hearts and less of our heads. So that's probably a simple one people can practice, right, Kat? Get into nature and just don't take your phone. Just go out
Mm.
and feel the energy of nature. Very hippie
Yeah,
thing to say, but it's true.
it's true.
Yeah.
That's perfect. And even being mindful of, your meal times, maybe, you know, coming together as a family, if you've got children, or even if you don't, even if you're eating alone, just a little gratitude and thank you for this meal, thanking the earth that provided, the meal. Just simple things. I think that's the beginning of that change, that, you know, that we begin to apply this gratitude and become more um, aware of our hearts, of the love in our hearts, rather than, turning the hearts off and just moving with the mind. The mind, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. It's just coming from our hearts and
Mm,
realizing that, yeah, what you said's right. Life is a miracle.
mm, mm. And just also looking ahead to this year as well, what about, I mean, a lot of people watching this or listening to this are probably going to say, I see chaos in the world, I see war, I see discrimination, I see conflict, I see division. So when they see that, and we're talking about enlightenment, and they're going, I don't see how any enlightenment's happening because all of this awful stuff is happening. What would you tell them for people who are just, I guess, looking at the news and seeing the
Mm.
destruction that's going on?
But if we never look at the dysfunction, we will never realize that we need change. By seeing the wars, by seeing people killing each other, children starving in this world, we can decide to change that.
Mm.
You don't have to participate in a war. Why
Yeah.
can't we live in harmony?
Mm.
Why do children have to starve? Why are there children in this world that die from hunger still? Like,
Mm.
this is what we're not getting involved with these matters because we're too busy in our own lives. And so this is the awakening of going, hey, I want to be involved in this. I want to participate, whatever it is, you know, even in little ways, we begin to make big changes if we come together rather than go, oh, everything is so horrible. Yeah,
Mm,
we know everything's horrible. I don't know how much worse it can get. We're aware of it. But if each one of us say, what can I do?
mm.
To create that change.
Yeah, take some personal responsibility.
Correct.
Yeah. And it's interesting you talk about food because in my role as a journalist, I wrote a big story about food wastage. And in Australia alone, the amount of food that gets wasted each year is insane. Like it costs the economy, I don't know if it's in the billions or million, but it is, the number is staggering. And there's like the MCG cricket ground in Melbourne. It's like you could fill that 10 times over with food, and that's the amount of food that gets wasted in a year. Like and yet people are starving. So you're right. There are ways we have set up a system of living that is not smart or sustainable in a long term way, and it's also not caring for everybody. It's caring for some and not all.
Mm. And food will become that will become less and less because the more we move away from our hearts, and I think Mother Nature herself is going to go, right, well, I'm not doing this anymore. And
Mm,
so I feel like there will be more shortages with food as time proceeds. And again, this doesn't mean that we all go out and start hoarding. It means that we start to look at ways, well, maybe we can begin to grow our own food. Maybe we can come together with neighbors and, grow food together and, share it, do exchanges.
mhm.
This is where I feel it's sort of heading. It's not this going and hoarding and filling your supermarket thing basket up and just going home and not giving a shit if the person next door's got food.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of these things are going to slowly become more scarce, but
Mm,
it's almost for our own good because we're at a point where we're not going to learn any other way.
yeah.
It's like, while it's all there for us, we're just going to keep
Mm,
taking. We're
mm.
not giving back. So we've got to learn to actually give back
Yes.
love, gratitude, caring, sharing, you know, and maybe, we can become an enlightened species. Otherwise, I think that we will go extinct.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
in a way.
it's not the first time that human races have become extinct, and I feel like in time this will happen here also.
Mm.
This is in this time zone.
Let's hope. Let's hope humanity can turn a corner. Hey.
Hmm. We're certainly all smart enough, intelligent enough too. We've just got to move into our hearts, and it's quite simple.
Yep. Step out of that fear headspace.
Yeah, and just all this sort of warring and turning, and this person's one religion and that person skins that color, and it doesn't really matter. See, the high evolved ETs, they all from different worlds and they're all different colors and but they all come from Creator God. And so they all respect and love each other, and they look, meeting another race, for example, is exciting for them.
Yeah.
They're all brothers and sisters, and we don't have that. And that's why the contact is going to be, it's going to take time because, again, what's our natural instinct? Let's get a gun and shoot. Like, they don't look like us, so let's shoot them. And they definitely don't want to start a war with us. So I feel like they'll make contact with people who are willing to hear the truth.
Yep. Yep. That makes a lot of sense.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's a lot to think about for going forward for this year, which is to exist and operate and come from your heart more than your head, and start thinking about ways that individually we can come together to help the greater good, rather than sort of just being on the treadmill through life and putting the blinkers on and not looking at what's going on around us. So definitely something for everyone to have a think about, I think, Caterina.
Yes, absolutely. And it's not difficult.
Yeah, just takes time, stepping out of your routine and having a bit of a thoughtful,
Mm.
more thoughtful approach to life.
Yep.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, well, look, we'll wrap it up there, Kat. Thank you for those insights. Lovely to hear what you've got to say and what you've seen. And yeah, we'll be back for more shenanigans again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody. And yeah, please share our message if you enjoyed our message. And yeah, see you next time.
See you next time, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.
To gain access to private spiritual development classes, guided meditations, and live Q&As with Caterina, please visit www.patreon, that's patreon.com/The Australian Ghost Whisperer.